So I got a question for both you and AG on this, man, and I want to be specific with this question because again, I get the fact that AAU on certain levels can be family, friend, kids hanging, but we're talking about this aspect where it's involving the money, the parents, and more specifically, from this perspective, uh, AAU coaches and high school coaches. Do you think that we will ever get to a place and a space where those two can work together and that AAU coach like, hey, I got your kid. What are some things you want this kid to get better at, working on? Do you think we'll ever get there, or will this just be AAU coaches versus high
Right.
school coaches?
I think first and foremost, the narrative has to be squashed that one is more important than the other.
Mm-hmm.
Because sometimes you do have that narrative where high school coaches are like, hey, I'm with the kid 9 or 10 months out of the year, and we're going to run our system, or we're going to do what we do here, and that's what's best. And then the other dynamic might be the AU coaches. Well, you're not getting the kid no looks, so on and so forth. So many different narratives that are thrown out there. But I actually have seen the positive side of that. I've seen a couple of high school coaches talking with the club coaches about what or where they saw the kid at. So can we eventually get there, or are we moving in the right direction? I think so. I just think people have to put their own personal agendas aside and now start focusing on kids. And I granted, we're talking about 1,000 kids, but in a simple world, if I have a program and there's 40 kids, I can obviously focus on those 40. If
Yeah.
it's 400 kids, and now a high school coach has 100 kids in his program, his focus is on that. And so it's kind of hard to kind of narrow it down to just one or two specific kids
Yeah.
in a big pond. Can you have those conversations about what he's been working on? Absolutely. Can it be tailored to a T? Probably not, because everybody's situation is going to be a little bit different based on team needs, players' ability, so on and so forth. I think the parents can help a lot with that, but the parents also have to be educated. And so to
Yeah.
bridge that gap, so that way there's no confusion, or you don't even sometimes you might have a kid. I like my AAU coach more than I like my high school coach. My high school
Yeah.
coach is always on me or whatever. So now you got that. Parent can squash it and say, hey, they're both working hard. They both, really like you. They're both putting you in situations that are best for their team, but also that are
Yeah.
good for you. So it helps a player become more well-rounded, because now my role might be different in high school than it is on my club team.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's now, okay, just make sure that the kid is skilled enough to be able to adapt. Let's not focus on Tim Littlefield's team or the Ages team or, William Gates' team. Let's focus on the kid's skill level altogether. So regardless of wherever he plays at, he can adapt and be a solid player. So I think that if everybody's focused on that, then I think
Yeah.
we can accomplish what you asked.
Will, let me give you my answer on that. Like I said, I think there's levels to this AAU stuff, and what I think is there's a guy here in Chicago. He's doing it the right way because some AAU coaches just want to win games. You know what I'm saying? Like they just want to win games. Oh, give me a kid that can help me win. This guy, Chris Harris, he actually has developed his own academy called Splash Athletics. And what he only does with Splash Athletics is that he develops kids' skill sets. He's not worried about winning games, but they play 5-on-5 all the time in his league. But his Splash Athletics is for strictly skill set development. And I'm talking about he's starting all the way down at fifth grade, like like bitty ball. Like
Wow.
he's included them as well into Splash Athletics, but he also coaches the Mean Streets team.
Ah,
So he has the best of both worlds to where he can identify a kid that he's been working with for years and say, now you're ready to come up and play on a Mean
I
Street
like
team.
that. I
So
love that.
I think he
So,
is doing it the
but
right way.
AG, how does that, and this going back to something you said earlier too, Tim, how does that translate to helping a high school kid? Because Tim, I heard you say, your role might be different from your AAU team to your high school team. Are we sending mixed messages to these kids? Because yes, they might be getting a skill set, but if I get the skill set and I can't use it at my high school, are you developing me wrong? I'm saying this. You know, and if you are a talented player on your AAU team and you getting buckets out there and you working your butt off, but your coach only has this one perspective of you.
Mm.
Some kids can feel like, I'm not allowed to get better at my high school. Because what if you got a high school coach who simply just does not like AAU ball?
Good question, because there are some that are around that are like that, and it's because of the horror stories that they see and they hear. But again, I think the more that they're educated, because I feel like everybody can get educated on this whole situation.
Yep.
Parents have to get educated. High school, college coaches, AAU coaches can all get educated. So you have to be willing to understand the end game. Obviously, a kid's not just playing just for recreational purposes. If they have the ability, it's like, the gentleman that Arthur was just talking about, from Mean Streets. He's seeing a starting point with some of those kids from the development standpoint to the end. Now the conversation has to be, hey, you know what? Let me call this high school coach.
Mm.
Coach, when he started over here a month or so ago, he told me he was having issues going left. Let's just simplify it. He had issues going left. So we've worked on just strictly that. Have you noticed that? And so now the high school coach might be like, hey, you know what? I appreciate you working him on that, because we felt like, if he got better with this, here goes, some other opportunities. So now you have the dialogue there. Excuse me. To take it a step further, let me bring in mom and dad. Hey, mom and dad, I got a high school coach over here. Or bring the high school coach to the practice. He's doing all the skill development. Hey, coach, come on over here. I just want you to come take a peek. I want your opinion on what you think about this drill. I want you to think about this. Tell me what you think about this particular kid in this situation. So now you open the dialogue. So now you get a better understanding of who people are and their point of view. I mean, communication is always two ways.
I'm glad you said that. Not to cut you off, but who should the invite come from? Because somebody got to initiate it.
I think it's from both ends, because, hey, I could easily say, hey, Arthur, Will, I got a game tonight. I want y'all to come over here, come watch my game.
Mm-hmm.
The next day, hey, well, y'all come in, come watch film with me. What did you guys see? What did you guys think? And not to say that any of you are lesser than me. Again,
Right.
I'm thinking to bridge that gap. Let's open up the doors, because maybe you're seeing it from a perspective that I haven't seen.
Yeah.
I have two assistants, but they're kind of like us. We're all in the system, so they're thinking like I think. Now I need an external perspective on how I'm going about this. It's like, hey,
Have you seen that though? Have you seen that work out anywhere where a high school coach has invited an AAU coach just to observe the practice?
It might be my rapport that I have with high school coaches, but I have quite a few that will text or call and say, hey, take a look at this. What did you think? Or when we played in the event, when we played in your fall league, or when we played in your summer league or whatever, what did you think when we had this lineup? Or what did you think with this player in this situation? And I'll say, hey, coach, I've seen this kid get better. And then I'll give him the other perspective on the kid, is I'll say, hey, coach, I saw this kid this past weekend playing with X, Y, and Z team, and they had him doing this, and he flourished
on that level. You're the outsider on that level.
Yes.
If you're Tim Littlefield, Coach Littlefield, coaching the San Antonio whatever, will that high school coach invite you out to say, hey man, come into here? I know you coach my kid. Will that high school coach invite you into their practice facility?
I've had that opportunity. I've had that. And I've seen some that have offered others. And then I've overheard conversations even over the phone recently. Hey, I'm looking at this kid playing here. I know he's been in your program the last 2 or 3 years. What do you think? Even from the kid's mental makeup, not necessarily all from the physical ability the kid's bringing to the table. Hey, coach, I can just tell you this. Hey, when I'm on him and I'm on him hard, he shuts down. Or if I tell him this or that, now you're getting the best communication for that kid. So now it might be another kid that I say, hey, man, get your tail over here. I probably can't respond to that other kid that way. Hey, let's go pick up your pace a little bit. It's just different lines of communication. So now if I know how to interact with somebody, everybody feels good about the situation. So now I don't have to worry about little Johnny or Bobby going home. Dad, coach tripping. Now I don't have that narrative. Now, open lines of communication. Mom, Dad, hey, take a look at the film of this practice here. Tell me what you think. I know you guys had some concern about what he's been working on, or you feel like he's not playing. I want y'all to just look at the film. Tell me what you see, because I can't have you in there because I don't want you yelling and screaming, or I can't have you around other people's kids just from legal purposes and stuff like that. But you can watch film, and I
Yep.
want you to see why Johnny only played 8 minutes in this game or didn't play at all in this game. You're like, hey, but he's doing well over here. Take a look at what's going on in practice. I've had to ask him 5 times
Mm-hmm.
just to play defense.
Hey,
I love it.
Will.
Hey, go ahead.
Hey, Will. I always tell these young kids. I say, let me tell you something. I say, back in my day, we was playing for survival and name recognition. Y'all are playing for opportunity. I was like, any dude back in my day would have spanked y'all ass, like, cause you ain't gonna outwork him. He's playing for survival, for his livelihood and his name. Like, it ain't no
Facts.
laughing and joking out here when we playing. We going up against each other, the best.
Facts.
I'm like, now it's for opportunity. That's where you get more of the training now that comes in. Everybody ain't got the money for training. So how hard, how bad do you want it to where you gonna go out there on the court and manipulate those same drills that those trainers are doing? Can you do them yourself?
Mm-hmm.
Where that will at?
I think a lot of kids start out that way. I think they want that aspect of the game. I think they want the game. But I think there's so many nuances in basketball right now on every level that gets in the way of the sport itself. And so I think, be honest
Give me
with
an
you, AJ, I
example of
think a
that,
lot
Will.
of
Give me an example
I
of
just
that, though.
Well,
I just think
I can
if
tell you this, and I don't
go
mean to
ahead.
cut him off, but from my perspective, and I get exactly where it's going, so many different levels and things that are going on. If I'm a parent and I'm paying this organization over here $1,000, my kid better be on the floor.
Absolutely.
So that's one dynamic. The other dynamic is that as a parent, I might feel like my kid is better than the other kid, so I don't know why this other kid is playing more. So now I'm involved, but I'm involved correctly because that's not the thing. I can't go and stand behind the AD at no college campus. I can't go and hover behind
Absolutely. Absolutely.
hey, how come he not playing my son? It's like, dude, I'm gonna tell you what. We got your transfer papers in the mail here, real quick. So that's not going to go on. And so I think, from a parental standpoint, parents have to be educated on how to go about that because, to Will's question and to his point, so many different levels that are interfering with that. And that was a real part of his original question about where does AAU, where is it going bad or where the issues may be at. It's parental education because sometimes they can have false narratives trying to live through their kids. You talked about it too, Arthur. Levels to it. You have to be realistic about what level you're at. If you really want it, like you said earlier, I got to go out and go work at that level to get to that point. Don't figure out like, okay, well, why not? Go figure out how and why to get to that. So I can't be an enabler as a parent and be like, okay, I'm going to take my son off of this team now and go and take him over here. And you keep going through the same thing. You keep recycling the same thing. You're not instilling work ethic. You're not instilling competing to go out now. It's like I was talking to somebody earlier and I was saying, your son needs to be in a competitive situation and he needs to now start identifying people who he needs to go and go knock off to work his way up the ladder. If he feels like
Yep.
he's at this point right here, in practice going, I'll work that kid. Make it a no-brainer for that coach to be able to say, hey, you know what? I don't have no choice. Because from
Yep.
the moment the gym opened up,
But coach, that gets so removed, especially from the athlete themselves. Because AG, you was alluding to this earlier, where you were talking about go out there and work hard. Let's be honest. There's a lot of kids out there working their tails off and not getting the success. And some of it is because no matter how much you, well, no,
They
think about
think
it.
that they working hard enough. Think
No,
about that.
AG, I've seen these kids. These kids, man, they are in the gym. They are getting every trainer. They are doing the 5 a.m. Breakfast Club thing. They want it. But some of them, they just, no matter how much they work out, they're not going to have the ability that some kids just have naturally. They're just not. They're just going to be hard workers. And that's great. And that can take you so far.
Yeah.
But Tim, this goes to your point about the education thing. Then the question now is, then when is the right time to be honest with our student athletes? Because I think about even my own boys. I knew Will's talent. I knew if he didn't get hurt, things could be different for him. But I knew after he got hurt, well, man, you might only get this far. So he and we had that conversation. I knew Jalen, as talented as Jalen was, as great as he can shoot, really, the reality was, I'm like, Jay, you 5'9". You a 5'9" two guard. That might not take you right. And that can get you to the level you played on. I looked at Marcus and I said, hey, man, you didn't put in all the work you needed to put in. So you are reaping the benefits of not putting in the work. Not that the pedigree wasn't there. You didn't channel the pedigree. So I don't know what you could have become. So I guess the question is, and like I've had these with my boys, every time they hit 16, we had the realization, what age, when should we start really as parents, as coaches, not to ruin their appetite for it, but to help shift and guide. Because we had a guy on there yesterday that I played with in college, and he said something I thought was very interesting. He said, well, man, when we was in college, I wish I wasn't just so focused on trying to get to the league. I probably would have studied something different in college.
He had a different perspective. And it's so funny because I watched you live your scenario out with your sons. I mean, you know, we talked about it the other day, laughing and giggling a little bit, how you'd come in the gym, the boys would be in there from Marcus all the way down, having to look up to Will. You had Will in the gym working. You know, Jalen was able to see what Will was doing. So for Marcus, he was able to see everything that those guys, and I know you would be like, how come he's not seeing it now? Obviously, he picked it up in his own time frame, which is totally fine. To your point, when are you realistic about it? I think as early as 7th or 8th grade, because it gets very, very competitive, and you don't want to have that false narrative out there that, okay, just because you're on the team, you're going to play.
Yep.
They do that in middle school only because of the rule that they have, you know, where they say, okay, you know, everybody can't play every quarter or whatever.
Right.
But even in certain instances, they're dealing away with that. So I think the more competitive it gets, the conversation has to be said that if you're not out working or you're not doing these things here, or even from a physical standpoint, if you can't do these, then we need to start focusing on these aspects. This is what you can do regardless of your size, your size, or your physical attributes. Here's what we can do. We can control this. Here's what you can really be good at. And it could be 2 or 3 different good things.
Yep.
Go and be good at those things. If we're not good at these 2 or 3 things, it's going to be tough. So now your workouts are configured on that. So if it's being faster, now you're going to work on being really quick and fast. You're going to get on the foot ladders. You're going to get on the heels. You're going to start doing, you know, no more plyometric type stuff to get quicker and faster and always be able to maintain that. If you're a shooter, you got to find ways to play a lot faster, even if it's just thinking, because a lot of that is just neck up. Hey, I'm cutting now. He don't know when I'm cutting, so I'm finna move without the ball. I'm finna do things. So now I'm finna really kind of focus on my IQ and my development so I can play faster. I may not be physically faster than some of those kids across from me, but if I'm playing at a faster pace to be able to get my shot off, now it looks a whole lot more attractive. If I'm not doing this, then yes, we're going to have some issues. So it's those little things that you said, like you said, when you start having the conversation with them at 15 or 16, you have those conversations more frequently. Hey, we got to start doing more of this. And now it's, you know how kids are nowadays, it's the why. Because they're going to say, well, why are we working on this? Because we have to master this. We have to master that. I can't go and do X, Y, and Z till we get really good at this, because you have to be a specialist. If you're going to get any college consideration, you have to be a specialist at something.
Yep.
Yeah.
James,
You
5'9", but he could shoot the cover off of it from the moment he come across half court. The scouting
Absolutely.
report, if you weren't finding him, he was going to cost you 3.
Hey, Tony Miller said something too, Will, the other day. He said he knew coming out of high school he wasn't as talented as the other guys, but he knew what the coach wanted. Like he needed somebody to run his team when he stepped onto the college, and he was like, I just wasn't a talented, but I knew other aspects of the game and how I can impact winning.
But he said something I thought was interesting, and I don't know if we're seeing this on the high school level. It can be happening on the collegiate level because it happened at Marquette with us. Kevin O'Neal instantly told Tony Miller, I need you to be the general on my floor. This is what I'm going to be looking from you, because in your abilities, I see that you got all of these tangibles. I don't know if we have, because there was a time when all of us played where our coaches, our high school coaches, was giving us that kind of scouting report. Like some of us didn't even know some of the things we can do until we start playing high school basketball, where your high school coach would say, hey man, you quicker than that. I'm gonna need you to cut that baseline off. You know, I don't know if we're seeing that anymore in the high school game, especially now, which is what I want to transition to because of NIL and where the game is going. Now you can get paid in high school, and now colleges can pay you. Now we're asking these athletes, on top of everything else they already navigating.
Yeah.
Now they got to navigate this whole other piece where it now can literally affect their entire family. Man,
Yeah.
how do they handle that?
I know a kid recently signed Division I, low to mid, signed for 5 figures. The following year, he worked his way up to a low 6-figure deal. This year, going into his junior year, it's a very, very high 6-figure deal.
Wow.
Each year, it has progressed. So this kid here, in this generational wealth, I'll say this, kids earn over a couple $1 million.
Easy.
And it's
You
just
know
going
what's so
into his
crazy
junior
about
year,
that,
so
Coach?
Sir?
I said, you know what's so crazy about that? I talked to a college coach, and he literally told me, he said, man, on a mid-major level, he said, if you got a kid that's getting 10 rebounds and 10 points, he said, well, that's easy. That's easy. $100,000. Easy.
Damn.
He said, easy, Will. He said, that just depends on the school he at. But he said, that's $100,000. 10 points, 10 rebounds.
But you know that number's small, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
That's the crazy thing, is you said it from a simplicity standpoint of 100.
Yes.
But we talking about 5, 6, 8, 900, even million type dollars a deal. So there's one kid that Texas and Texas Tech were bargaining for back and forth just over the last year. And so from a salary cap management standpoint, one school was offering this. Once the other school heard what they were offering, the other school said, okay, we're going to go here, and that's our final number. Other school wasn't able to match it or didn't want to match it because of their situation. Kid wound up at the other school. But
Wow.
from a schematic standpoint, it worked out all the way around. So not only did the kid earn more, he's in a better playing situation. And now, obviously he's probably going to be top 10 pick next year. But it's like when you talk about navigating it, it's those type of things that now you're marketing your playing ability. So you get to market yourself, but you also still have to go to a situation where you're going to continue to be able to market yourself. So I can't go to a school just because of $1, and I still can't expand on who I need to be because, I'm making pretty decent change, but the end game is to play at the league.
Yeah.
Or at least be in the conversation of it.
Hey, you know what AAU team is doing that? Compton Magic. Compton Magic got about 8 dudes in the league.
Oh, easy. Well, the Fire are doing it too, man. I mean, the Chicago Fire, they putting out players too. It's so crazy, Coach.
Fire and those guys have been historically that. I remember playing against those guys when they were on the Adidas circuit.
You know, I was just about to bring that up. That's what
They
I want to
started on the
transition
Adidas
to.
circuit. They were there. I remember the Chicago Fire when they first came out. When the Adidas 64 was the original Adidas Super 64. It wasn't 3SSB or
Right.
gold or
Yeah.
silver or whatever else. It's like you talked about back in the day where the elites in the camp, when there was the real Adidas Super 64, Chicago Fire was up off in that thing. Compton Magic was up off in that thing. You all had another organization. I'm trying to think out that way. It was the Warriors. Does the Warriors still exist out in Chicago?
Yep. The
Illinois
Warriors.
Warriors. Yep.
Yep. They used to be the Hawks.
Okay.
You know what? You know
The
what's so crazy about that?
Chicago Warriors had the one guard. I'm drawing a blank on this name. Went off to Kansas and starred for them.
Was it Jacob Pullen?
What's that,
No.
AJ?
No, Jacob Pullen went to K-State.
Right, he went to K-State.
You know, but
We'll find out who that
Bear
is.
played for the Mac Urban Fire too, though. I mean, he played for Mean Streets. My fault.
Okay.
Here's the question, though, man. We're just talking about the changing of the game. Remember there was a time when you went to the school because the gym shoe company was the sponsor? Now I'm seeing kids who we just saw this year play for Duke. He's already signed to New Balance, but Duke is a Nike school. You know, I mean, it's like again, now that's another space that these kids are navigating, because it's not just the NIL money per se. It's the I guess they could say it's the NIL money, but these kids are getting real major contracts. I mean, they're working for State Farm. They're working for, Gatorade. I'm trying to figure out, just as a student athlete, I know the difficulty I had just hooping and playing. How are they hooping, playing, doing commercials, doing specials?
They have agents. They literally have hired agents. And so that's the other crazy part. We're talking about high school kids or kids coming out 17, 18, 19 having to get agents. And then now, so you talk about having to navigate it. Now you're having to navigate who's going to be constructing these deals for you, because now you have to figure out their end game. Are they just in for it for the money, or do they really fully understand? And so for me personally, I would love to be able to help in that realm, not from a figure standpoint, but from more having a better understanding of the kid, their family dynamics, so on and so forth. So I would be able to kind of tie those knots together, so to speak, versus somebody kind of coming in just because of my title. I work with this agency kind of coming in, we're going to work this deal here. You're going to make 1.5. I'm going to get my 15, 20K off of it, and we're going to keep it moving. And then the only time we'll conversate is at the beginning of each year when we're negotiating new deals and stuff like that. But it's more, I think it has to be more personal. I think parents have to be more cautious about not jumping to, okay, this guy here got this guy $2 million. Now all of a sudden we're just going to give all of our alliances to this guy, and he really could care less about you. You got to be very careful with that. So that's another piece they have to navigate.
Hey, you know who else, Will, who did Ray Allen talks about how he didn't hire an agent coming out of college. He said he paid Johnny Cochran hourly to go in, help negotiate his contract.
Look at his contracts. I read that.
And that was that. Like, he got his money.
But his stuff was so different though.
Yes.
Because back then the league, like I'm sure you all saw with the NBA, Ron Harper's son is making more money off his rookie contract than Ron Harper made in his career. I mean, it's I can't imagine. Well, Tim, I don't know if you saw the video with the kid who did the Spurs draft.
That's him.
That's right, Dylan Harper. Did you see Dylan Harper's face when he looked at all the zero?
Yeah, he said, wow, is all he could say. But I'm going to tell you this. That kid there has a chance to change things. I think the Spurs will legitimately be no less than a 6th seed this year because of him. They drafted the Carter kid, but I'm saying that because of their position versatility. Yeah. He's able to do so much to where whatever they're paying, man, he can run. They can play him at the point. They can let him facilitate. If he need to go get a bucket, he can go get a bucket. He's long. He can defend. He's big. He gets on the window. He helps rebound. So I'm like, paying what he need. Paying what he need.
Tim, we done had you so long, man. I want to ask you this question, and then my man Agee is going to hit you with the final question. And that final question is actually going to be about you. But I want to ask you this, man. Right now, what should if I'm an aspiring kid that wants to play college basketball, what from the mental aspect to a physical aspect, what are just some key things that I should definitely be doing? Just that I need so I can get myself ready to compete.
I think it's a really good question. And as resourceful as kids are nowadays, how
Mm-hmm.
quickly you could possibly DM somebody who is pretty close in proximity to your age,
Mm,
ask them what they did.
mm,
Be realistic about where you're close to being, but ask questions. I think sometimes we feel like we know it all
yeah.
and we don't. Even in my space, I have to ask questions and be like, hey, what do you think? Uh, because at the end of the day, let's just say you two are my bosses. For me to perform up to the level where you guys will want me at, how do I really know what that is? I can come in with an idea based on the business, but do I really know unless I ask?
Yeah.
So I think now, if that's my ultimate goal, I think I need to ask somebody who has recently done it. I then need to get in the gym with someone who has also done it and shown me things that they did to get there and
Mm-hmm.
also what they learned while they were there. So it's not all about getting to that point. It's also about staying there,
Mm,
staying in the now, staying in the conversation. So I'm going to get around, surround myself with people who really know how to get that done. I can't ask a millionaire how to manage money if I'm talking to somebody who's only making five figures.
mm, mm. Wow.
That is, y'all heard it.
Wow. Well, Tim, man, I want to thank you for coming on the show, man. Uh, Will kind of left me in the dark on who you was. I had to do my own research. I'm like, oh, he a heavy. He a heavy out in Texas. Will done bumped into one of them guys. Man, you didn't just drop some gems and some knowledges on our show today, man. I hope the kids and the parents was listening to this. I hope y'all absorb everything. And we're not, everything we talk about on this show is for the kids' best interest. If we're speaking about basketball, youth basketball, AAU, we all want the best interest for that kid and for that family,
For sure.
whatever they choose in life. But for you, Tim Coach Littlefield, what is the next chapter in Littlefield's hoop dream?
Man, college level scout or NBA level scout.
Mm,
Would love to be in that space, in that circle. So, I'm gonna have to take up my own advice as I alluded to just a while ago. I do have some people, that have that capability, uh, that are kind of in that space, but would love to be able to see that because of the grind itself. I mean, there's a lot of hours that people don't see that we put into this thing, especially like with high school kids. I even get out and go and watch them as early as like middle school just to
oh,
start creating my own little mental database on kids and seeing their true progression. So if somebody asks me about a kid from the area or even around the state, I can say, hey, I saw this kid here. Here's what I saw he improved on, so on and so forth. Even doing my homework, watching parents and how they kind of move around in the space because I try to even pull them aside. Hey, may not want to do that just because I know the end game. I mean, if you're
mm,
handling it the wrong way, if you're one of those parents that's overzealous, a little abrasive, what coach is going to turn you off because they can't bring you, if they're paying you or potentially going to pay you $900,000 to $1 million, I can't bring you on campus doing some of the things you're doing. So you might want to stop that now. You're curtailing your son or your daughter's scholarship opportunities, and you're probably holding your financial situation back too.
well, you heard that, folks. You're never too old to live your hoop dreams. Coach Tim Littlefield just told you his next chapter in his hoop dreams. Again, brother, I want to thank you, man. I appreciate you.
Appreciate you guys, man. It was
Hey
a
Tim,
blessing to
what
be
can
on it.
people find you at, man? What's your handles?
You can find me on that GASO Temp on the X, formerly Twitter, and then on IGT _Littlefield.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate you coming on the show today, man.